All right, we are back here on the podcast, talking New York Giants football here as they get ready for an important offseason. Join me today, great friend of the podcast. He is the co-host of the Giant Insider podcast and also edits the Giant Insider newspaper. Jerry Foley's here. Jerry, how are you?
Good, Mike. How are you doing, man?
Doing pretty good. And this Giants season, I want to sort of get your take on the overall season here before we get to the news that's coming out the last few days about stuff. But your take on the end of the season here, where the Giants did play pretty well down the stretch. They went 3-2. They didn't quit on the season. They gave the Eagles a big loss the final week of the season. Your take on the Giants played the last month and a half of the year.
Yeah, it was a weird season, but they finished strong, I'm glad they finished strong. Like, guys like Dexter Lawrence, Thibodeau, Deontay Banks, Wan'Dale Robinson, guys you want to build around. You want to finish strong, and hopefully, that carries over to next year. So yeah, I was proud of the way they played. Like, they didn't quit, and for a while it looked like this was just spiraling into like a 3-win season. But kudos to them. They fought hard down the stretch, and actually lost a couple of games they probably should have won, like the Rams game. So yeah, they didn't quit on Dable, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure here. And now we have a big offseason here, and the big headline, obviously, we have to talk about the Wink Martindale situation. And I know Jay Glazer mentioned, I think, back after the Patriot, I think back after week 12, that this might be a mutual parting of the ways. This ends up being what happens here. We've had all sorts of wild reports about what's going on with Dable and Wink, the relationship they had or they didn't have. Like, we've had a lot of crazy reports going on here. Like, what's your take on the Wink Martindale situation?
Yeah, I mean, Chris reported on the podcast basically that the Wilkins brothers were the leaks to Glazer, and Dable had to take care of business that way. If you can't have guys doing that, you can't have guys undermining the coach, and it sounds like that's what they did. And look, Wink is an old school, defensive coach under like the Rex Ryan mold, and it reminded me of the '85 Bears. Like, obviously not that good, but the situation there, when Buddy Ryan would tell Mike Ditka, don't worry about us. We have the defensive side of the ball. Worry about your damn offense. And it's like that kind of mentality when, Dable's more of a CEO. He's going to worry about both sides of the ball. And there were times where, Wink's defense probably pissed him off, either too much zone or, too many zero blitzes when he shouldn't have. I don't know. I'm speculating that part. But, the Wilkins brothers leaking that info to Glazer was unacceptable. So, Dable fired him and played a little bit of chess, like Chris said, and it is what it is. I'm glad they're moving on. If that was the situation.
Yeah, it certainly feels like there was a mess with those two this year, and it seems like they're probably better off with that here. Though you have to wonder now, like, considering there's probably going to be a change in Philadelphia to assume after the season, regardless of whether the coach has changed or not here. Like, would it not surprise you if Wink Martindale tries to go to Philly and just stick it to the Giants?
Nothing would surprise me, but from what I'm hearing in Philly, and I listen to Philly radio almost as much as I listen to New York radio because I want to know my enemy. Yeah. So they're saying that Sirianni is not going to get fired. So I don't know what to think. They said even if they lose tonight, they are not going to get fired. He is not going to get fired. So.
Yeah, I was talking more about like the whole thing where Sirianni's gone through multiple times at coordinators. Maybe he just hires Wink to take over that spot.
Yeah, no, he might, and I don't know what his plans would be, but Patricia's clearly not getting it done. Even tonight is a disaster for him. It looks like there's a hole in the middle of that defense. I mean, he might do that, and look, years ago, Coughlin I think interviewed with the Eagles after the Giants fired him, so nothing would surprise me if Wink did that. Or Sirianni hired him, it wouldn't surprise me at all.
All right, let's go to the quarterback situation. It's obviously the big question that Joe Schoen has to answer this offseason here. And obviously, we saw that Tommy Cutlets was a moment. Now it's gone. Tyrod Taylor played well down the stretch. Daniel Jones is dealing with a lot of injuries. He has one more guaranteed year money on his contract here. Giants sitting in the middle of the draft year. What do you think they want to do at quarterback?
Well, I think they'll draft one. I think they have to draft one. But if Daniel Jones is ready week one, it's very likely he's going to be the starter. But I do believe within the first two rounds and maybe the first round that they're going to draft a quarterback. So look, it depends who's there. It depends if they can trade up and get their guy. And I don't know how they view all the quarterbacks in the draft. Maybe they look at 3 or 4 in one echelon and then there's the next four. I don't know. I don't know how they rank them, but I do imagine they will take a quarterback. If not with the first pick, then maybe with the second pick or trading back up into the first round to get one.
Yeah, in your opinion, you feel like Daniel Jones is here next year?
He has to be, because it'll be a huge dead cap hit if they get rid of him. So no, he's going to be there next year. I would be stunned if he wasn't here next year. Yeah,
it was funny because I actually was like thinking outside the box here, and watching the playoff game last night gave me an idea here. And I know that they were linked to Russell Wilson in the past year. Like, would you think the Giants would consider some sort of trade where maybe they send Jones out for Wilson?
No way. No, I would be. I think there's a better chance of you or me starting for the Giants next year than that scenario happening. So no way. No.
There's an outside the box idea to the Goff Stafford trade.
No, it's fine. I mean, look, stranger things have happened. I mean, some things that get suggested happen, but I couldn't see that possibly happening.
All right, let's go to the other big free agent question here. Saquon Barkley here, and like the way he was talking here, like at the end of the season, made it sound like he's not very sure if he's going to be back next year. I know the Giants didn't want to give him long-term money, and now if we're talking about maybe drafting on quarterback here, like, is this a situation where do they tag Saquon again and try and trade him? Do they want to keep him? Do they just let him walk? What do you think happens to Saquon?
Like I was 60-40 on him coming back, and then the more the season gets away from me, the more I think this was his last season with the team. I don't think they would franchise him again because they don't want to spend that much money. I think it would be $15 million, and I don't think he's going to play for less or sign for less. So, look, gun to my head, I think this was probably his last year with the team. But again, I don't know this. It's just my opinion. So we'll see what happens with Saquon. But the farther we get from the season, the more I believe that the Giants could move on from him.
Yeah, I think it's definitely also something the Giants have to consider with the way the modern NFL is, especially like unless you have like the top guy in the league, like a Christian McCaffrey here. It feels like spending money on the running back position is like not the wise investment. You have holes on the other parts of your roster.
Yeah, he's on the wrong side of 25. Look, he has. It's easy for me to sit here and say this, but he's lost a little bit of a step. I mean, he used to be the guy that once he got past the line of scrimmage, he was almost gone. And now, he's not that guy. He's still one of the top backs in the league. He's the best player they have on offense. Like I don't want it to come off like I'm saying he's washed up. That is not the case. But he's on the wrong side of 25, and he's had an injury history, and he's not Christian McCaffrey. So, how much are you going to invest there? Can they get someone early in the draft next year who can do what Barkley does? Maybe not, but for the amount of money, maybe it's something that makes sense for them for someone that they're not paying as much. I just don't see them franchising him. They could, but I don't see it happening, and I don't see him playing for less than that. And also, like the Giants may not offer that. I have no idea what they value him at right now. So that's going to be interesting as well.
Yeah, obviously we're not convinced Saquon is going to be back here. Like of their own free agents, who do you think the Giants should look to retain?
Man, I have to go through that list of free agents that they have right now. I don't even know who I would keep, and I'm not trying to be funny, but like, of all the guys that I think are the nucleus of this team, I think they're signed already. I think they need to improve, in a lot of areas. Like if you want to give me a free agent, I'll tell you if they should sign him or not. Outside of Barkley, I don't even know. McKinney would be one, right? So that's a good one. McKinney, I would keep, but I don't know what he's going to expect. Is he going to expect, 15, 17 million? I have no idea. And if he does, how much you're going to pay a safety? I really don't know. So I would try and keep him because it's another position that you have to replace, right? So if you say, we're going to get rid of Xavier McKinney, well then, look, the Giants have to add a quarterback, a receiver, at least 2 offensive linemen, probably a defensive end, another cornerback, probably another edge rusher. Oh, now add safety to that list. So you want to try and keep him, but if he's going to be unreasonable, I have no idea how much they value him at. I know he finished extremely strong down the stretch and played way better towards the end of the season than he did at the beginning of the season. But I don't know what he's going to ask for. He's definitely going to test the market. He's one of the guys that you want to look at and say, okay, we're going to keep him.
Yeah, I have three other guys that sort of popped out. I'm looking at the list right now, potential free agents they have here. The biggest name is Adoree Jackson here, which he's going to be 29
No, goodbye.
next year.
No, goodbye.
Yeah, Isaiah Simmons, young project. You'd say.
I like Isaiah Simmons, but I don't know if there's a spot for him. Like, he's such a tweener, safety and linebacker. He's like a luxury guy. Like, I like Isaiah Simmons, but like, I like him when you throw him into a team that's got an established D, and then he can come in on passing situations or play that extra defensive back role. You can't, and Dave Syverson of our lads, credit to him years ago, said it when he was coming out. You can't build around him. He's more of like an add-on type of piece. He's very good, but I don't know how much he's going to demand and how much he's worth. I like his playmaking ability, but he's not a guy you can build around it. And who else is the other one?
I would say Sterling Shepard, because he's been there forever. And
he's retiring.
Yeah.
No, he's retiring anyway.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, okay, so that's, like you said, McKinney's probably the one guy on this list you probably like really would want to keep, considering his age and his role on the team.
Yeah, like he's the one that's like, okay, like if you lose the other three, you don't leave, Shepard's retired. So, you lose Adoree and Isaiah Simmons, you don't lose much sleep over it. Xavier McKinney would be a big hole on this defense. And look, when he made the comment earlier in the year, it was clear it was directed at Wink, not Dable. So, Wink being gone probably helps the cause for him to come back. But he is going to test the market because this is probably going to be the biggest contract he gets this next coming one. So.
Yeah, for sure here. And obviously, if you had to prioritize for Joe Schoen, what the list is, besides, like, well, assuming quarterback is number one, obviously, here, like, take that off the board here. For the rest of their needs, like, how would you prioritize what they need to do?
Oh, my God, offensive line. I would say right tackle, but they're going to stick with Evan Neal there. But, guards, you need better guard play. You don't give up on Schmitz yet. I think Schmitz had an up and down year, but if you put a solid guard next to him with some continuity, that would help, right? But it's got to be offensive line, then wide receiver. Then I'd go to the other side of the ball and probably say, I would say defensive lineman, because outside of Dexter Lawrence, it's a bunch of guys that kind of come in and out of the game. So I would say defensive lineman, and then probably corner. And did I say wide receiver?
Not yet.
Okay, so all right, so quarterback, lineman, offensive lineman. Then I'd probably go wide receiver, and then I'd go defensive lineman, edge rusher, cornerback, because I do like Nick McLeod. I think you can do something with him there. And Cordell Flott is a good slot corner. He struggled down the stretch a bit, but he can play. And believe it or not, tight end. I think the Giants need another tight end, but that would be the last of them. I would focus on those positions first. So to answer your question, offensive line before anything else after quarterback.
Yeah, I think the thing that's interesting here with Joe Schoen, too, is like this feels like the first offseason really actually going to have a decent amount of money to spend, because last year it's kind of boxed in with Jones having to sign him and Saquon, and the first year he was fixing the Gettleman mess, and he has about $38 million right now before he makes any cuts or salary adjustments here. So, like, curious to see, like, where in the pool he tries diving. Is he trying to go for the big splash? Is he trying to, like, get multiple guys to fill holes? Like, how do you think he's going to attack this?
Well, they have a lot of draft picks, but I think they're going to bring in a veteran guard to solidify things. But yeah, I mean, he was pretty aggressive with Bobby Okereke last year, who really worked out well. But I think he's going to bring some guys in on the offensive line. If I'm him, if my plan is Evan Neal, you got to bring in a right guard. You got to bring in a right guard to help both Schmitz and Evan Neal. I don't want to give up on Josh Ezeudu, but if Josh Ezeudu is the plan at left guard, draft somebody else too. Draft another guard. But I think they'll attack quarterback in the draft. I think wide receiver. Or look, I don't know. Maybe they're interested in Higgins from the Bengals. I don't know. And that's why I don't think they would use the franchise tag on Barkley either, because it's a hard number, right? If it's whatever it is, if it's $15 million, it's right away $15 million against the cap. You can't spread it out. It's just, of that $38 million, 15 comes off the top. So that's another thing about the franchise tag. Teams don't want to use it, and players don't like it. But I think it'll be two-pronged. I think it'll be half or some in free agency, but mostly through the draft.
Yeah, I also wonder about Evan Neal. You brought him up before here. The idea of maybe, like I know with another former Giant pick who did not work out great at tackle, Eric Flowers, he ended up moving to guard in Miami and ended up playing decently there for a few years. I wonder if the Giants have thought about this at all, saying maybe we should move Evan Neal inside if his tackle thing's not going to work.
Well, I think the only way they would do that is if they didn't like the quarterbacks there and they weren't going receiver and they went with like Joe Alt from Notre Dame or the left tackle from Penn State. I don't want to butcher his name. That'd be the only way that they would put those two players at right tackle, then move Neal to guard. But Shane was pretty clear in one of the pressers that he said he thinks Evan Neal's a right tackle. So I don't think they're going to do that yet. But it's a good question because we asked years ago, what's his name? Shermer that of Flowers. Can you ever move him to guard? No, he's a right tackle. Well, okay. The other teams moved him to guard, and he could succeed at guard. So I don't think they're ready to give up. I think Bobby Johnson was such a disaster for them this year that I think they want to, bring in a new coach and then see if they could salvage Evan Neal because I remember, man, Evan Neal was rumored to go number 1 overall to Jacksonville to protect Trevor Lawrence. Like, he was the guy for so long before he fell to the Giants at 7. So I think they want to really make sure that he can't play right tackle before they move him to guard. Now, that doesn't mean I have confidence in the fact that he can do it, but the Giants are going to give this probably one more shot for him. This year coming up will probably be his. If he doesn't show improvement, then they got to figure something else out at right tackle.
All right. Obviously, 2 more questions. Number 1 here, the draft situation. Obviously, they're saying it's 6. They're probably going to be in the mix of like QB3 or QB4 if they sit where they are. Like, do you think like if it's something where like they'd be content to sit and take the guy who's there? Would they think they'd be aggressive, try and go up if they see one they really love? Because we know the price on that is going to be very high. So, what do you think they're looking at number 6?
The problem is, Mike, like there's the Bears, the Patriots, and the Commanders, right? Or Bears, Commanders, Patriots. If they're all going quarterback, I don't know what Joe Shane could pull off in his magic hat to get them to trade with him if he likes a guy, because they're just going to say, no, we're taking a quarterback. So the only thing would be is to move up to 4 or 5 to prevent another team from jumping the Giants if there was a 4th guy that they loved. So will Joe Shane try and move up if he likes a guy? Probably. I just don't know if those first 3 teams are going to be willing to. So if that's the case, he may just stand pat at 6 and say, okay, let me see what falls to me. And again, I don't know how they rank these quarterbacks. Like right now, everyone has Caleb Williams, Drake May, and Jaden Daniels as 1, 2, and 3. But maybe they like J.J. McCarthy. I don't know. I'm just saying a name. Maybe they like Bo Nix or Penix from Washington. Like, I don't know how the Giants are ranking them. So they may say, you know what, we're going to stay at 6 and we're going to take one of these quarterbacks. But if he really likes a guy, he's going to try to trade up. The problem is those top 3 teams may not be willing to trade up, so he's going to have to stay put.
Yeah, it's like you look at it, like Washington's definitely going to take a quarterback from the new coach and all situations they get too.
Right.
Yeah, the question is, are the Bears called off with Fields? They're going to sell the pick again for a second year in a row. If that's the case, the Giants could get there if they wanted to.
It sounds like the Bears are going to take Caleb Williams. That's the latest rumor, but again, dude, I have no idea. I don't know how they could not take him. I like Justin Fields, but they're talking about Caleb Williams like Patrick Mahomes, and you can't pass that up. So I could definitely see the Bears taking Williams, and then Washington will take a quarterback, and then how is Gerard Mayo not going to take a quarterback at 3? Are they really going to take Marvin Harrison? I imagine they take a quarterback. I don't think they're going to go next year with Mac Jones and Billy Zappi. So,
yeah, I wouldn't think so either. Here, obviously, last question here is like we're heading through the playoffs here. We still have 1 game in progress as we're recording here. But what are you excited for next weekend in terms of playoff games?
I'm excited to turn on my TV and not see the Philadelphia Eagles or Dallas Cowboys. That's probably what I can hope for the most. I was, and I'm a lunatic with how much I can't stand the Eagles. Like, last night I'm thinking, oh my God, the Lions have to win, because if the Rams won and the Eagles win tonight, then the Eagles would have a home playoff game next week. So I think I'm most excited to see, Bills, Chiefs. I want to see, this is Mahomes' first road playoff game, which is absurd. But I would like to see Josh Allen get some revenge. I'm happy for the Bills fans. I'm excited to see that game. And then hopefully the Eagles are eliminated, and then I can just watch the NFC, with just pure joy. But if the Eagles were in it, I'm hoping that the Detroit Lions just completely annihilate them next weekend. So, but also, the Packers, the job they did in Dallas, it'll be interesting to see if they can do anything against the 49ers because they're the team to beat in the NFC. So,
yeah, I just want good games because we had, I think, basically like 4 blowouts so far and the Detroit Ram Classic. And then we're still TBD on the game that's in progress right now. I'll let the people know the pick segment how that ends up going here. But I just want good football.
Yeah. Yeah, and the Bucks are up by 7, but Eagles are hanging in there. It makes me nervous because I just don't think the Bucks are that good. But we'll see. We'll see. The Eagles have been playing horribly. I think Sirianni, or like to call him Millennial Barry Switzer, is in over his head. I hope he comes back next year. I think he will come back because I want to see him lose twice to the Giants. But yeah, we'll see. I thought the Eagles are going to win tonight and then lose next week, but we'll see. The Eagles are the Bucks are hanging in there. They're up 7 right now. So
yeah, we'll see what happens to that game, Jared. Thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it. People want to follow you guys on social media and keep up with the podcast, and you say we're not going to do that.
Yeah, man. Twitter account is @GiantInsider. Chris does most of the tweeting on that. And then the podcast is weekly right now on all the podcast platforms. And then we also have a YouTube channel, the Giant Insider YouTube channel. So thanks, man.
All right, thanks for all the time. Really appreciate it.
All right, bud.